I think, to be honest, that once Boris Johnson withdrew, this was inevitable. I think it's the best result possible, really, for the Conservative Party. I don't think they wanted to put the country through another membership vote, particularly when that membership is so unrepresentative. And it does mean, as your correspondent was saying earlier, that Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt have a little bit more time to put together that all-important financial statement, which hopefully will calm the markets even further than Hunt has already managed to do.
Do you think we might be in for a slightly more boring, a slightly quieter time in politics?
I'm sure actually most members of the public would quite like that. I thought it was interesting that Rishi Sunak in his speech also mentioned the word integrity. He didn't talk about Boris Johnson, but I suspect that the subliminal message was pretty clear to most people. I think he will hope to run a completely different and far less chaotic administration to the one that his former boss did. It will be interesting to see if there's any role in that for Johnson. I very much doubt it. But of course, that does create a slight problem. If you've got Boris Johnson on the backbenches and you're under pressure, that might be a little bit difficult for a new Prime Minister.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, who's on the backbenches, as you mentioned. I mean, obviously Boris Johnson, Prime Minister until not very long ago. Liz Truss, also Prime Minister not very long ago. Theresa May, also. I mean, there have been five Prime Ministers in 6 years, five Conservative Prime Ministers in 6 years, and that's only the Prime Ministers we're talking about. Lots of other key personnel who have gone from high-profile positions to being backbenchers.
Well, I mean, it might be the case that Rishi Sunak will bring some of them back, actually, because I think, one of the key things he'll want to do is to coin the cliche, bring in all the talents. One of the problems he will have, however, is that because there was so much churn and turnover, particularly under Boris Johnson, there will be a lot of people who were brought onto the front bench by Johnson and to some extent by Truss, who may well, as a result, be let go. Now, whether they will allow their resentment to fuel rebellion against Rishi Sunak will be interesting to see. I suspect if he can offer them some prospect of saving their seats, they might keep quiet, but you never know.
And the polling indicates that, even when it was a case of which of the different contenders for leader might do best in the country or best against Keir Starmer as Labour leader, none of them were on course to win an election. So if the Tories potentially have 2 years to try to deliver unity, try to deliver some sort of stability, could their fortunes change?
Well, they could change. I mean, we have an example from fairly recent history where a Tory Prime Minister took over from an incredibly unpopular predecessor in the middle of a very difficult economic period and yet managed to win an election. And that was John Major, who took over from Thatcher in 1990 and managed to squeeze a win in 1992. So a win for Labour isn't completely inevitable. And you have to remember, of course, that Labour was a long way behind in 2019. However, having said that, it looks to me, and I think to most people who follow these things closely, like the public has probably made up its mind about the Conservatives now, and it's a case really of just limiting the damage.
Thank you very much, Tim Bale. Well, let's hear again what Rishi Sunak said earlier when he spoke on camera, briefly, but his first words since becoming Prime Minister.
I'd like to pay tribute to Liz Truss for her dedicated public service to the country. She has led with dignity and grace through a time of great change and under exceptionally difficult circumstances, both at home and abroad. I am humbled and honoured to have the support of my parliamentary colleagues and to be elected as leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party. It is the greatest privilege of my life to be able to serve the party I love and give back to the country I owe so much to. The United Kingdom is a great country, but there is no doubt we face a profound economic challenge.